Okay, I do want to apologize for not being able to make it in person. I did have a series of unfortunate events happen this morning and got in an automobile accident. Fortunately, I'm okay. Vehicle's not really, but that's besides the point now. It is what it is. You just gotta roll with the punches. So I do apologize again for not being there in person, but I wanted to get this sent out as soon as possible so that I could maybe get some type of points for this final. So I chose to do mine over Make-A-Wish Foundation. So the reason being, I knew I wanted to do it over non-for-profit. I have worked closely alongside St. Jude and other non-profit philanthropies in the past through the work of my fraternity, and I've also done a lot of volunteer work locally as an event planner for the Spirit of Instance Rendezvous. So I was kind of looking at potential careers in event planning, more specifically corporate event planning or philanthropic event planning, and definitely came across Make-A-Wish, as big as of a nonprofit as it is. Was certainly an option that I've been exploring. So I wanted to dive a little deeper into some of their leadership methods and also some of the organizational structure and why they operate the way they do. So this is my organizational behavior case study, looking at the organizational structure and leadership methods of Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I'll start with a little bit of overview on the company, how it was founded, when it was founded and such. Then we'll go into some of the structure of that organization, some benefits and pitfalls of that organizational structure. Then I'll look at some leadership methods. Then we'll look at the impacts of those leadership methods, and then we'll finish up with some suggestions or proposals for the company. So a little bit of background on Make-A-Wish Foundation. So it is a nonprofit, 501c3, founded in 1980. And they are dedicated to granting the wishes of children diagnosed with critical illnesses. It is the world's leading wish granting organization with over 615,000 wishes granted to date. The company does operate globally with a national office located in Phoenix, Arizona. And that national office is really designed to raise national funds, but also set a standard of guidelines for local charter chapters to follow. The nonprofit does rely heavily on the support of individual donors, corporate sponsors, volunteers, and grants. Wish granting accounts for a majority of their expenses. So their mission is together we create life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses with a vision to grant the wish of every eligible child. Here's a look here at their current CEO appointed in 2021, Leslie Motter. And then we'll look a little bit into the structure and some of the culture of the organization. So the mission of Make-A-Wish is executed by numerous locally independently chartered chapters. That's a mouthful. These chapters are under the web of the national office and are in charge of local wish granting, volunteer coordination, and local fundraising. Each individual chapter is also governed by its own volunteer board. So each chapter may have a director that oversees the actions of the chapter, but then there's also a volunteer board that kind of appoints the director and is also kind of oversees everything, make sure it's all flowing smoothly, and it follows those national guidelines. So look at some of the core values as mentioned on the website for Make-A-Wish. Child focus, this is very important for them. They always put the wish of children first, so sometimes other methods of leadership or whatever can get in the way or not be as effective because they do have a very mission-centric focus. Integrity, we are honest, transparent, respectful. Impact, we deliver life-changing work. It's very easy to correlate your work with the impact that it has, working so directly with these children with critical illnesses. And then innovation, we are bold, imaginative, and creative. And then finally, community, we are a diverse group of people working together towards a common goal. So we'll look a little bit about what this structure brings. So having this decentralized structure of independently run local charters allows for several benefits that impact the organization's adaptability, empowerment of employees, and focus on mission execution. More specifically, the responsiveness. So local chapters are able to focus solely on wish granting and not so much as far as raising funds and kind of worrying about, who's where and all the logistics of everything. They can focus solely on granting those wishes for children. This allows them to have quickly adaptable programs that meet their logistical needs of their respective communities. And kind of in short or in summary, it's faster decision making, especially if it's a common wish or such. A child can make a wish and they kind of already have the logistics in play for what they need to do to be able to grant that wish. And then stakeholder connection. Local chapters are able to establish deep working relationships with volunteers, local donors, and hospitals in their region. They can also tap into resources that may otherwise be missed by a single national entity. So having these scattered various locally chartered chapters does allow for them to create working relationships with people in the community, people who volunteer for them, hospitals where these children may be located and such. And as I mentioned before, if it's a common wish, they kind of have everything in play through these relationships and are able to grant those at a faster rate. So some of the pitfalls of this type of structure, while the decentralized chapter-based structure can be highly beneficial, it also presents pitfalls in relation to consistency, control, and efficiency. So standard variation, the local autonomy of chapters can lead to inconsistencies in the quality, timing, and execution of the core mission. If poorly executed, this could diminish brand image, ultimately impacting fundraising at all levels. So allowing these local chapters to kind of do their own thing as far as granting the wishes and be able to focus solely on those without really having to follow a strict set of guidelines could create issues as far as how much time it takes, the quality of the wish granted, and such, as I mentioned. And then resource sharing. So this has become kind of a common theme among local chapters. If a local chapter is successful in raising funds or granting wishes, or they've developed strategies that are effective for them, this kind of can result in information silos where they're not as willing to share that information with other chapters and help those other chapters be successful and work collectively towards that common goal. This results in information silos and fosters an us versus them mentality. So moving on to some of the methods of leadership. The foundation primarily uses a transformational leadership strategy that focuses on the motivation of stakeholders by connecting their work to the profound impact on eligible children. The CEO and chapter leaders should be charismatic and mission-centric. So as I mentioned, they have a very transformational style of leadership. This is pretty common among all directors. Of course, each individual director or leadership board might have their their own styles of leadership or what they do to try to encourage volunteers or employees. Oftentimes this is a very inspirational approach. As I mentioned, it's very easy to connect the purpose of what they're doing with their actual work. A mission-centric and servant style of leadership that's really based on serving others and putting that child first to grant their wishes. So the impacts of this style of leadership. These methods of leadership offer distinct advantages for a nonprofit. However, disadvantages arrive in relation to consistency and control. So you will see pretty common across all chapters a very high motivation and commitment towards the job. They foster a sense of innovation and creativity. Just with the whole wish granting thing, it's very easy for them to want to grant new wishes or do something that's innovative and fresh, not only for them but also for the child. However, this style of leadership can be very emotionally taxing. You can experience emotional burnout, especially being around sick children all the time could certainly take its toll on you. And there is kind of a theme across chapters where sometimes they do undermine the formal authority or kind of go under what the national guidelines are, or kind of what the overall goal for Make-A-Wish as a national foundation want them to do. So here is a look at some of the actual reviews that I found. I believe this was on Indeed. It said, "What do you like best about the leadership team?" It says they're very involved and always offer to help. And also everyone works hard and gets along, talented and collaborative. So you can see that probably most of the directors, it could be different from director to director, but most of them have a very positive attitude. They're involved in the process of granting the wishes, and they're very collaborative with their peers. So to wrap up, some proposals that I would have. So to improve the structure and leadership methods of Make-A-Wish, Proposals should focus on the pitfalls of the decentralized model, while also enhancing the existing strengths of its inspirational community-based approach. So first, I would say centralized core support services. So maintaining a structure from the national level that's in charge of payroll, HR, everything else. So that way, these local chapters can solely focus on wish granting, and they're not having to worry about all the other logistics of operating a non-for-profit. And that kind of leads into standardized logistics. So if they do have good working relationships with, say, airliners or such, they can set up some type of partnership, or really as many as possible, for commonly themed wishes, to standardize those logistics. They could also implement performance benchmarking, so they can actually look at some of these successful chapters, what they have done to not only raise funds, but to grant wishes with quality and effectively and efficiently. And then they could kind of set up a standard for how a wish is granted, especially commonly themed wishes. And then cross-chapter collaboration. Not only giving more oversight from the national chapter or from the head offices or headquarters, they should also encourage these chapters to collaborate with each other, especially if they're located regionally close. And I think this would not only help all chapters to be successful, especially those who are your outliers, who are more successful, helping those who are less, but also kind of setting that standard that we're all in this thing together, that we all have a common goal, and it is to grant the wish of every child. So I do believe that's all I have for today. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Here are some key takeaways from that. So structural conflict, the decentralized structure is both a source of strengths and weaknesses. It's really a play of autonomy versus standardization. So how much do you want to let these chapters kind of run and do their own thing versus how much do you need to standardize it? So it's a constant struggle for any company that operates under this structure. The need for centralized efficiency, centralizing core support services like IT, performance benchmarking, and leadership development programs can ensure high quality across the board. It would also be effective, as I mentioned, to establish some type of leadership training or what have you for these regional directors and these boards. Oftentimes it could just be someone who's popular in the community, who they nominate to be, the director of the board. So really having some type of leadership development program that is set up by the national headquarters would be beneficial. And then leadership reliance. Leadership relies heavily on transformational and service styles that are key to empowering and retaining volunteers. Although this style and this type of work can be emotionally draining for both leaders and stakeholders. And then finally, just a quote from Make-A-Wish. If you could wish for anything, what would it be? Thank you. And here are my references.